The city hums like an unanswered question, a low-frequency confession vibrating beneath the pavement. And I'm walking through his pulse like a silhouette stitched into the floodlights. Half there, half not, a rumor of myself drifting between broken street halos. Every step feels like a long-delayed echo of memory refusing to dissolve. A promise I once carved in the back of my ribs, now whispering warnings I pretend not to hear. The sky's a cracked dome of neon and smog, and the air tastes like iron and unfinished prayers. But I keep moving because standing still feels like drowning in daylight. I hear ghosts and crosswalk signals, hear old versions of myself rehearsing apologies I never learned to deliver. I hear the names of people I loved and failed bouncing back at me from empty bus stations. The world feels paused, suspended, like someone pressed a thumb on the timeline just to watch me shiver under the weight of everything I refuse to confront. And maybe that's what growth is, a brutal, slow-burning interrogation of the person you used to be. Maybe that's the tax for wanting to become more. Shadows stretch across buildings like untold stories, and each one feels familiar like a chapter I didn't read carefully enough the first time. The wind moves with the attitude of an old mentor, stern, intentional, unwilling to sugarcoat my mistakes. It whispers, your silence was a weapon, your fear was a throne, your guilt was a language, your truth was the war you kept postponing. And I wanna argue, I wanna say that survival is messy, that I did what I could with the broken compass I was born with. But the city doesn't negotiate with excuses. I pass murals painted with the faces of people who never got to finish the sentences. Their eyes follow me like a verdict, not accusing, not forgiving, just witnessing. And something in me tightens, a quiet tug in the center of the chest, like a thread connected to every regret I've ever buried. The floodlights flicker, and the world feels like a theater, missing its script. I improvise my existence, rewrite my flaws in real time. Pray the audience understands the art in my stumbling. My heartbeat feels like a drum line of old storms, a reminder that I've weathered things that would've snapped weaker bones. But endurance is a tricky thing. You can survive a fire and still smell like smoke forever. You can outlive a battle and still flinch at the thought of peace. Healing isn't a straight road, it's a loop and alleyway covered in graffiti left by every demon you try to outrun. And yet somewhere between street lamps and unspoken confessions, I feel something shifting, a small calibration of the soul, a subtle rewriting of an internal law. Like the universe inhaled and exhaled and finally made room for me again. Hope doesn't arrive as a sermon or a sunrise, it arrives as a flicker, barely visible, barely believable, but enough to make your spine straighten, and enough to make you whisper back into the darkness, I'm not done. I remember people who told me I'd break, I remember people who prayed that I would, I remember shadows that felt heavier than bodies, and nights where the ceiling looked like a burial ground for every dream I neglected. But I also remember laughter sharp enough to cut fear, love wide enough to drown doubt. In the moment I realized that resilience isn't a gift, it's a craftsmanship. I walk under the floodlights, letting my silhouette stretch long like a prophecy that finally decided to show up. The ground vibrates with the possibility, the air hums with second chances. My pulse syncs with the rhythm of a world that once felt too hostile to hold me. And for the first time in months, I feel aligned with myself. Not perfect, not repaired, but real, rooted, returning. The city still asks its questions, but now I have answers. Not clean ones, not easy ones, but ones that feel like they belong to me. I whisper them into the wind, letting them travel like rebellious prayers. I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm unafraid of my own shadow now. The floodlights stretch across the pavement like invitations instead of warnings. And I step forward, silhouette merging with every possibility ahead, carrying the ghost, the guilt, the glory, carrying the quiet truth that I am still becoming, carrying the certainty that no darkness can